Has it played the...
Hello, everyone. So good to have you join us here on Global Television. This is Global Morning. I mean, there's just this excitement that comes with knowing is midweek. It shows that we're making progress. So one half gone, one more half in front of us. So the energy with which we conquered the first half, we'll have to double down on that to conquer the second. I'm Uyag Mofwegwe. As always, I'm super delighted welcoming you to Global Morning. The lady who tried a while ago to have an upper hand, what can I say? It's a woman's world now. Jumai Manson is here, and I will find a way to even up in the course of the show. I mean, we have enough time to do that. So Jumai, it's good to see you.
Good morning, Uyag.
Maybe we can be friends before we fight.
But wait a minute, is that it? That's the intro? That's it?
Well, maybe because you're fighting me.
Very funny, Uyi, but it's great to be here. Good morning to each and every one of you out there. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning. I'm excited because I love the weather, by the way. And of course,
you know that breeze that comes with the early hours.
It does. But at the same time, there's this random report going on that we should always use our face mask. It's hazy, it's dusty, it could be detrimental to our health, which is true. But let me introduce myself. Please calm down. And of course, I am Jumai Manson, and it's great to be here. Just kidding, by the way.
I can imagine. Right.
But at the same time, we have to precautionary measures are very important. For as much as we love this weather, fantastic for those of us that love when it's cold and raining and all of that. But please, we need to go out with our face masks. There was a health report that went out and said this is very detrimental to our health. You can stagger if you're not well covered, if you inhale the dust and all of that. So please, it's very important. Precautionary measures, it's important.
And yesterday we mentioned too that you have to drink as much water as possible.
Very true.
Because dehydration is real, so you have to hydrate as much as you can. And this is also a good time to stay away from junk food. I mean, I'm doing a great job with that myself, unless of course you think a cup of coffee is junk, which is not. But the point is, lifestyle choices, putting your health first is very important now more than ever before. And just like you said, I think the last 3-4 days, I've seen more people wearing nose masks now than I had seen in the last half of last quarter of last year, which means that awareness is also heightened, and people are now becoming more conscious of how that they must be intentional about their health.
Very important.
Health is wealth.
Yes, health is wealth.
Especially when it's good health.
Especially when it's good health. Because that's the only time you can function. If you're not healthy, you cannot do much when it comes to functioning and playing your roles effectively and, of course, actively. So it's very important that we take to adherence. It's very important that we do the needful when it comes to our health. Just like I mentioned, the nose mask is not when, of course, that came into play during COVID-19, where everybody wondered.
It became a market.
It became a market of its own, but now this is serious now. A lot of people have to take this very seriously. For as much as the weather is breezy, it's amazing for some. Someone will tell you, Juma, are you kidding me? Hamatan. And you say it's amazing. Yeah, this is my best weather ever. But at the same time, please just use our nose masks, drink a lot of water, because at this point in time you hardly take in water because you feel there's no need, there's no thirst for water. But please make it a habit to take lots of water and cut down on sodas and drinks. Look at someone giving advice.
Resist the temptation. Find an accountability partner like I have done. It's working. I don't want to tell you the number of days so far. Let's not count our eggs before the
hash. Exactly.
That's the principle here. All right, we're taking a quick break now. We'll have more to talk about health and the, if you like, intersection between health and power, especially as it has to do with Nigeria. All of that after this break. Please do stay with us. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning.
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
This week we're hearing from the Ministry of Health that the federal government is now realizing more than ever before that you can't divorce, so to speak, power from an effective, efficient, robust and vibrant healthcare system, has now moved to find a way to improve, or if you like, ramp up efforts in that regard. The whole idea ultimately is to ensure that we no longer have all of these glitches occasioned by incessant power outages. I mean, you might remember how that not too long ago we saw what you might call a national embarrassment, a national disaster with the University College Hospital, UCH Ibadan.
Yes, exactly.
Because of power outage. We've seen that happen in a few other federal health institutions.
Yes,
whether
we have.
FMC here today, a teaching hospital there tomorrow, and things like that. And one would have thought what a responsible government would do is find a way to, at the snap of fingers, tackle such a menace, and we're hoping that is what the government is trying to fix now, because at some point we're looking at how do you run institutions like health, how do you run universities without adequate power supply, without dependable, reliable sources of power. Of course, energy is expensive everywhere in the world.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it's basic economics, but the question is this something that the government cannot surmount? But apparently, with this piece of news we're hearing, there's a pretty good chance that we're moving in the right direction.
Yes, of course, this is a step in the right direction. Power is important, especially when it comes to the health sector. You know, sometimes, I told you there was an incident that happened. There was no power, and they had to use their phone lights to perform an operation. And you know, something can just go wrong there because you actually need the brightness of the light to see what you are carrying out in an individual. And this has to do with life. And for as much as it has to do with life, it's very important that power is sufficient in order to carry out the necessary operation or surgery that needs to be done. So for me, this is a step in the right direction. I'm glad the government is becoming aware and they're awake that, okay, power and health work in tandem. It's very important that they work together. And it's very important that they understand the needs of the people now. Where it's glaring that it's very important that we show this sort of succor when it comes to these things. And we're not like a desical when it comes to it. Like I said, Nigerians are becoming more awake now. We now know that these basic amenities is not a privilege, it's our right. So you should give it to us. And when we go to hospitals, teaching hospitals, university teaching hospitals like we mentioned, and that incident that happened, I never want to remember that incident. But at the same time, I'm glad that this menace, or will I say this issue of power in the health sector is being nipped in the bud, and this is the right direction to go. Amazing.
Apparently, it is the right direction to go. In the course of the show this morning, we'll also be taking a look at what exactly is the role of women in our political landscape, especially as it has to do with politics. Again, an apt reminder is 2027. We're seeing the men in their numbers, all right? Throwing the hats in the ring, all of them, if you like, putting in their best. Some people, in the manner of speaking, even putting in their lives just to ensure that they not only play a role as far as that general election cycle is concerned, but that they redefine the process and, of course, the outcome. But how do the women feature, so to speak, in this sort of, if you like, scenario where it's apparently a male-dominated space? How can women have their voices heard? Yes, we understand there's now the reserved seat for women at the legislative level, especially as it has to do with the National Assembly, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. But is that the final? Is that closure to it? What more can women do in terms of ensuring that they not only win elections, but that they also are able to influence the process, not just the outcome, but starting from even the initial stages of how polls are conducted.
For as much as I love the fact that inclusivity is key when it comes to both gender, male, female, and all of that, that process of being present, not just giving that winning ticket, okay, woman is there, let's not stress her. She wants to be stressed. She wants to be, she wants to go all out, to be part and parcel of how it takes place, the inputs, the outputs, and all of that. So it's very important that we understand that most women, sometimes they say it's hard for women to support women when it comes to these issues, because when a woman is there, you wish, oh God, let it be me. But I think there's a different mindset now, because we have more men coming out to push forward for women to actually come in and be part of political issues in Nigeria. And I think men should understand that women have come to stay when it comes to these issues. It's just that leverage that we need. It's dominated by men. Yes, we understand. And sometimes men, they feel insulted when a woman tries to stand up and try to say stuff. They feel, oh, please, you belong in the home front. Oh, please, that mindset. But I think the world is evolving now. People understand that women play big issues when it comes to politics. They make things happen. Well, in Nigeria at the same time, we've seen a lot of women in these particular areas and they've not done so well. We hear of issues, but you do not judge a book by its cover. Everyone cannot be some sets of individuals. There are other women who want to make that impact to be heard, because really, women actually make a difference. That's that uniqueness when a woman, look at you and I on the program, if we were both your gender, I'm just giving an instance, that spark, that spice would not be there. But we won't be there to tell you, oh, this is how it is, what's wrong with you, and all of that. So a woman just makes a difference. And because she has so much empathy, she has sympathy, she'll be able to drive home that point, to meet the needs of individuals in whom she represents. A woman who is high up there, who understand what politics is all about, not games and not being greedy at the same time, but understand individuals in our society, understands the people whom she represents. She goes all out. Look at a woman in the home front can actually multitask. She understands the plight of individuals. Women will definitely make a difference when it comes to political issues, but at the same time, she needs to be carried along, because sometimes for very few women that understand what politics is all about, especially in Nigeria, most do not. Even when they want their voices to be heard, they do not know the right angle to go. So we need, as much as we want to be part and parcel of politics, we also need guidance from the male, who will actually put us through without any bias or without
strings attached.
Thank you. I didn't want to say it, but I just had to.
But someone had to pull the strings.
Whatever we but without any strings, they're just doing it for the love for humanity. Someone to just carry her along. We're not trying to tussle when it comes to the
so the idea is complement each other.
Exactly, just to complement each other and just be like a guide. The male folk has been in politics for a very long time. When you go out for rallies and all of that, women are there, but the voices that you hear mostly are the men.
But the women now have to also take up first of all, I think we find, even the men finds consolation in knowing that more than ever before in the history of mankind, or my friend would say humankind, women have shown that they have the capacity, they have the competence, they've acquired more formal education, structured training and stuff like that. They're doing amazing things in the public and private spaces and things like that. But when it comes to politics in particular, especially in the case of Nigeria, women must now have to find a way to, it takes courage to do that. It takes clarity, it takes deep-seated, deep-rooted principle to do that. To say, look, enough of going to campaigns, going to rallies, and saying, give women a chance, vote for women, and on election day, you go vote for a man. Right? Exactly. That's sort of double speak. So that has to stop going forward. I think that's a lot of point we have to make. But in all, the message is that women have never been better at leadership than they are today. And if you look around, as they say, evidence day, all right? So you can see that whether in look at the civil service, for example. During this course of our return to democracy, the Fourth Republic, look at the number of women who have led the federal civil service, for instance. Look at the number of women ministers we've had. In fact,
and making waves, by the way, include that.
In fact, it was the waves they were making where they were that led to their being appointed or being engaged into these roles. Today, for example, Nigeria has a CJ in a woman. All right, so those are all pointers to the fact that never again will the world and indeed Nigeria neglect the place of women in providing forward-looking leadership? Well,
and men really need to see that.
And men have never seen them more than they're seeing them today. And look at these women.
But some would say,
I mean, it was President Bola Tinubu that appointed the CJ. And obviously, I'm not going to be the one to remind our viewers that President Bola Tinubu is a man.
Exactly, but at
Right.
the same time, but you know, we need to create that balance when it comes to these issues. Like you mentioned something
Right.
very vital. A woman can come out and say, okay, fine, give women a chance. I can do this, I can do that. Okay, and you hear the, hey, okay, we're going to vote her. And but at the day of voting, you
Right.
go
There's a
behind.
swing.
There's a swing. You vote in the other gender. The male gender, of course.
Right.
So, but that needs to change. If you're going to vote me in, and take my word to power. Whatever I say, take it as true.
And hold me to account.
And hold me to account, because accountability, transparency is key when it comes to issues like this. Very dicey,
Right.
but at the same time, hey, women are taking chances, and like you said, we're making waves.
All right, so let's look ahead as we continue to talk about women in the course of our conversations this morning here on the show. But quickly, let's join Ramsey Enoch Agbo as he brings us some inspiration. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8.
Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching from, where you are listening from right now. My name is Ramsey. Let's talk a little bit. You know, a lot of people think the way they want to think because everyone is entitled to their decision. Everyone is entitled to how they think. But then you have the right to think in a particular way. But then there is something I want us to consider today, inspiring ourselves, encouraging ourselves. What we are trying to achieve here is to set someone on track, give someone hope, restore someone's belief and faith in himself, in herself. What are we saying? There are things that you don't need to procrastinate about, that you need to start now. From where you are, using what you have, doing what you can, because nobody, all right, would want to have it all before they get started. If you're waiting for when you have it all before you get started, then it is a problem. So now, I want to ask a question. Let me ask you a question. How many dreams have died because someone was waiting for the perfect moment? How many dreams do you think have died? Even you who is listening, who is watching right now, how many of your dreams, how many of your plans have died because you were waiting for the perfect moment? Some will said, I will start when I have the money. Some will said, I will begin when I have the right equipment. Some said, I will take the first step when everything is in place. But when is going to be the time that everything will be in place? These are the questions we should be asking ourselves. But let me tell you something. The truth is this: there will never be a perfect time. The perfect time is now. All right? Arthur Ashe, the legendary tennis champion, once said, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. He didn't have the fanciest equipment. He didn't train in the best facility, but he had willpower and courage to start whatever he had. You see, greatness doesn't just wait for the perfect time. It doesn't care about perfection. It grows through progress. Every successful person you admire today started small. The difference between them and others isn't the talent, all right? It's the action, the move. Don't despise your humble beginning. Don't mind what people are saying, because people will say so many things about you. Whatever. Someone said his name is whatever. Whatever you do, whatever you say, people must talk about it, whether positive or negative. If you're doing well, people will still criticize you, because some persons will say, oh, because of his affluence, he's behaving like this. If you don't have, some people will still say, where is he looking at? Can't he see his mates? Can't he see what his colleagues are doing? The small things that you are doing in a big way one day will generate you income that you don't even expect. The bottom line is this. You need to tell yourself and say, enough is enough. I've tarried too long in this place, in this position, all right, in this thinking. You know, it's a process. It's a process. Success is a process. First of all, you need to conceive it in your heart. Then secondly, it needs to get into your head. Have it in your head, or else it will never get into your hand. Number one, it needs to be in your heart, in your head, and in your hand. I call it the triple H. The triple H principle says it must get conceived in your heart first. Keep ringing in your head, then it will enter your hand one day. But a lot needs to be doing. It's a process, just like the seed. The seed doesn't grow in just one day. It went through a lot of processes. The gold you see today don't just come out shiny, but then it went through a refining process, a heating process with fire, serious fire. The gold is being heated in serious fire before it's become what it is today. So whatever you're doing, that dream that you have, begin to do something about it. Begin to mix up with people who are going your direction, people who have your kind of dream achieved already, because that thing you're thinking, somebody already has gone ahead to do it. So you don't need to just sit down and be thinking, be procrastinating, the economy is not favorable, Nigeria, this is the country, if I was abroad. Well, let me tell you the truth. It's not all about your location. It's not all about your destination, even though these factors play particular roles in your success, in your growth, in your achievement, but you don't need to capitalize on it. All right, and hold yourself back, because by the time you're holding yourself back, someone somewhere is already overtaking you, because the person believed in his or her dream and decided to make a move, despite the fact that they are not seeing the staircase, but they believe that their leg will land somewhere. All right. Risk taking is very important, but then if you want to take risk, let it be a calculated risk. Not the risk that will destroy you or claim your life. Any risk you're taking, it should be a calculated risk. If I do this, this is what is going to happen. If I do it this way, this is what is going to happen. But at the end of the day, this is where I am going to land, good or bad. That's how to take risk. You don't just take risk randomly and say, well, whatever wants to happen should happen. You should know that this thing that I want to do is two ways. It's either it happens this way or it happens the other way. But those two ways should be something that you should be able to survive, not that kind of risk that will end you in jail. Then that dream is already dead on arrival. That vision is dead on arrival. So if you want to take risk in as much as risk taking is part of the game, you need to be calculative. You need to put your sense together. All right. And you just need to know that every expert was once a beginner. Everyone started from somewhere, and they are where they are today. It's so beautiful talking with you. It's so nice talking with you in this aspect. A lot of people tell themselves, this is what I want to do. They start and they stop halfway. Some persons start and one thing comes up and they abandon that and rush on the other thing. But the bottom line is this: whatever you want to do, whatever it is you're doing, you should believe in yourself that you are a great man, you are a great woman. But then you need to put God at the center of everything that you do, whatever it is. Allah, okay, is supposed to be in charge. And everything you want to do, don't succeed at the detriment of the other person, because nemesis will not allow that success see the light of day. You might be successful today, but how long is that success going to be sustained? Will you be able to sustain it because you did it on a very faulty foundation? A house built on a faulty foundation never lasts. We heard of building collapse at different times. How did it end? Because the foundation was faulty. So your success in life, your achievement in life should be on a very solid foundation without you stepping on toes. It's not necessary, okay? Because the plan that God has for you is of good. So do your best and try everything that you can and get started now. Get started now. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, December, you should be able to sit down and say, yes, this is what I have done. This is what I have achieved. All right. It might not be 100%, but at least 75, 80, 85, 90 is still a very good one. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful time. I want to see you at the other side of success so that we can celebrate together, because the world is waiting for you to manifest your success. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome back from that amazing inspirational by Ramsey Enoch Agbo. At about this time is the newspaper review segment, and we will start with the first paper of the day, and it's the Daily Sun. Now, beside the nameplate of the Daily Sun, it says Ekboma riot sponsored from abroad, Edo government. And it says here, Okpebolo visits fire scene, promises to rebuild burnt shops, and that you will find on page 8. Now, below the nameplate of the Daily Sun, it says peace at price, how Katsina trades terror for stability. And the writer says a controversial prisoner swaps. And the star story on the Daily Sun says U.S. boosts Nigeria terror fight. And the writer reads, deliver military supplies. The second writer says U.S. AFRICOM delegation meets Marwa, assures NDLEA enhance collaboration support. And below the foot of the Daily Sun, it says FG budgets 1.3 trillion naira for police formations command. And the writer says wages to gulp 255.38 billion naira from humanitarian ministries, 462 billion naira budget. And that's on page 2. And on page 6 of the Daily Sun, it says Soludo approves 16.7 billion naira for infrastructure projects, and you will find that read on page 28. And the writer there says orders enforcement of road setbacks in dual carriageways. And on page 4 of the Daily Sun, it says herdsmen kill women, 4 others in Benue community. Very unfortunate incident there on page 4. Now, please go out and get yourself a copy of the Daily Sun to be well abreast with the major headlines making rounds. And next is the first daily. Over to you, Uyi.
All right, thank you, Jumai. Let's see. It says here that I just sent the nameplate, that is MultiChoice Nigeria names Kemi Omotosho new CEO. All right, then the Star headline has a kicker reading Peter Obi to federal government, halts controversial tax law, it's confusing Nigerians. Fresh Benue bloodshed, 4 killed as suspected herdsmen strike again. Rivers crisis, Fayoshe tells Fubara to make peace with Wiki. I thought we've been talking about that since 2024.
Exactly.
2 years down the line, we're still, let's see, maybe, as I said, the more the merrier. The more voices Governor Fubara listens to, the better the chances he and his now estranged political godfather would find some, if you like, compromise. All right, let's move ahead with the headlines on the front page of the First Daily today. Governor Diri approves 200 million naira monthly support, orders expansion of Bielsa rice production. U.S. delivers military equipment to boost Nigeria's security fight. Outrage in Kano as woman dies after scissors allegedly left inside her.
Oh my goodness.
You know, I've heard this story severally, how that objects are forgotten
by surgeons.
Yes, you know,
Are you
in
kidding
the
me?
patient's body. When I was a young boy in primary school, the first I heard was there's this thing called surgical blade. I don't know if that's what they call it within the professional space.
Yes.
Had been forgotten inside a patient, somebody who had undergone a procedure. Obviously, we've heard of cases where someone will have to come back to the OR on more than one occasion just because something had gone wrong. Sometimes, or who knows, maybe in most cases, on account of negligence.
Are you kidding me?
All right, so we need to find a way to at least cut down on this sort of disturbing news, all right?
And then sometimes it's due to, like we said, the power. When there's no power, that could happen. Or sometimes it could be negligence of the surgeon or doctors in that line. So a lot has to do with it. But it's just unfortunate that you now, oh goodness, it's just an unfortunate news there. Very unfortunate. Scissors, seriously. My goodness.
It's disturbing.
It is disturbing, Uyi.
All right, let's bring you 2 more headlines from the First Daily, and then that will be a wrap on it. Here it says, Lagos APC fires back at Obi, Tinubu fully engaged, not missing. Of course, the president, we understand, has been in Abu Dhabi since, where he has been attending a summit to which he has been invited by his counterparts in the UAE, and now the media handlers of the president back at home say that, look, there's nothing to fret about. You don't need to break a sweat whatsoever. The president is fine. He's not missing. He's attending an important event. Hopefully, Mr. Peter Obi gets the message, and then the back and forth will end. Lastly, police seize explosive-laden vehicle in Katsina, and that's the same Katsina state, Juma, you and I talked about yesterday.
Yes, we did.
We're now understanding that a prisoner swap has gone controversial.
Yes, it has.
And questions are now being asked as to what really is the rationale
Behind
of
that.
the government behind this sort of
Exactly.
initiative. And like you read from our first paper, the Daily Sun, on the front page this morning, it says peace at price.
Peace at price. Well, let's just see how well this. I hope there's a very substantial or
a motive that serves the overall interest of the people of Katsina.
Very important. So let's just see what this is all about. But like they always say, time will always tell, and that's it. But I hope it's not at the detriment of the good people of Katsina State. Just unfortunate there.
Right. Well, those are your headlines from First Daily today. Do well to look up details for yourself. Let's flip over to the New Telegraph, and Jumai has those headlines for us.
All right, now the New Telegraph, and above the nameplate, it says here, World Bank retains Nigeria's 2026 growth forecast at 4.4%. And below that, before we get to the nameplate, it says, report Nigeria set to pass sweeping AI rules for digital economy. And that's on page 25. Now, below the nameplate, it says here, Nigeria, UAE seal trade pact to co-host MSPR in Lagos. And it says, the writer says, plans to mobilize 3.06 billion naira billion annually, and that's from our dear President Tinubu. And here it says Nigeria records highest FAAC disbursement in Q3 2025, and that's from report, and you can get that read on page 4 and 5. And it says here, wife of first Ogun governor Lucia Onabanjo dies at 100 years old, and that's on page 29. Well, for as much as a life well spent, at the same time she will be missed by so many, but 100 years old is a big deal. She has achieved a lot. I'm sure children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, she has lived a life of legacy, and well, we thank God.
Right. I think it's the point where they say you're supposed to wear white and all black. You're supposed to be in celebrate gratitude.
Yeah, gratitude, Thanksgiving.
Right.
And on page 5, it said Trump announces 25% tariff on countries doing business with Iran as death toll passes 2,000. And that's on page 5. Now, the Star story says counter-terrorism. U.S. delivers military supplies to Nigeria. And here the writer says, as bandit kills ex-House of Assembly candidate, 4 others in Benue. And you can get that read on page 4 and 29 of the New Telegraph. Now it says here on page 7, church attack, court admits additional DSS exhibits as more witnesses testify. And then on page 6, it Gerber poll, court nullifies Ekiti PDP primary, directs fresh exercise. And below the foot of the New Telegraph, it says NCAA to crack down on airlines over chronic delay, poor handling of passengers. I totally agree with that. And that read you can find on page 2. And the writer says to introduce no pay, no service policy. That's one writer. And the second writer says carriers refund 1 billion naira to passenger late 2025. And on page 5 and 6, it says Rivers crisis, IPAC faults Wike's Rainbow Coalition claim. And the writer reads, says no individual has right to hijack, speak for political parties. Another writer says some parties considering unconditional solidarity with Fubara. Okay. And at the foot of it all, it says here, I don't want to read this. It says, sugary drinks increase risk of disease in children. Oh my goodness. Sugary drinks. Oh my goodness.
Right. I think what some parents are now doing, even though that in itself is quite taxing, is to get as much fruits as possible, make juice for them. Like I said, it's very demanding, but it's worth it.
And that's the thing, that's why priority is very important. The kids are very important, so you have to make out time. You must make out time, as long as it has to do with the health of the child, the overall well-being. You must take out time. If it's the weekend, you have to. If you have to wake up early hours in the morning, you have to, because priority is key. And these kids are important, so you have to do the needful to keep them. Do your part. My mom will always say, it's an account you must give, so you must do the needful. It doesn't matter. So priority is key. So you prefer to do other things than to take care of the home front, it's up to you. But accountability is key, and you must do the needful for the overall well-being.
You can't outsource it.
No, you cannot outsource it, because this is what they are taking in. And there are some very neat outlets out there who are very clean when it comes to spot on their equipment or whatever. You can outsource from someone who you are sure. But it's just best to do it yourself. Get your watermelon, get all of these things, go to your kitchen, wash them with salt, rinse thoroughly, clean it very well, cut it up, and just juice it.
The thing is, we now have, if you like, a wide range of options when it comes to blender.
Exactly.
And blending. So there's no rule that says, yes, there's no rule that says you must break a bank.
No, you mustn't break a bank, and that's why. And you must, like I said, priority is key. You know when there is light, have your things. For someone that, if you do not have solar, you don't have the generator, you have to. Everything is all on priority. You know when the light comes. You know when you have to quickly. What comes first? What is important first? So it's all about preference. It doesn't take time. You can just do the whole watermelon drink. You can just do a mixture of pineapple and all of that. So it doesn't take time, please. It's very important, please. This is very serious. All right, that's the last heading on the New Telegraph. And then let's flip over to The Guardian. And Agbomofuegbe will run us through that, The Guardian.
All right, so we'll begin with the one just top right corner of it with the picture of the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Ali Pate. Says NARD rejects federal government NMA job evaluation agreement before collective bargaining. Shitima Abba others canvass ethical leadership at colloquium. Lagos gets 179 billion naira. Oil states 424 billion naira from FACTS, 6 trillion naira disbursement. That's obviously a reference to December allocation to components of the Federation. All right. Lingering seed-at-home disruption may hurt Southeast's 5.7 trillion naira fiscal plan. Nigeria, UAE signed trade deal, liberalize over 7,000 products. Nigeria ranks higher, moves up from 103 to 89 in passports index. It's getting better, apparently.
Yes, it is.
Obi Keigama raised concerns over new tax laws as officials defend reforms. Of course, this is the 14th day into the implementation of the new tax laws. All right. 2027, INEC laments waning public confidence in elections. We're not going to be here to lament and wail. We've got to find a way to fix the problem and ensure that citizens build confidence in public institutions, especially INEC. Edo government links Nigerians in diaspora to Ekboma riots. Do we have credible intelligence to support this, or is it just a bunch of politicians doing this linking? All right, so if that's the case, without considering what are we doing to bring these entities or elements to justice? Well, The Guardian will give you some insights when you particularly read up those details on page 7, all right, of today's issue of the paper. Well, those are the headlines from The Guardian today. We have other papers you've got to look at. Juma will walk us through those headlines.
All right, now moving on now to the next paper is the Punch newspaper, giving us some very punchy headlines. And above the nameplate, it says 2027. ADC fractions eyes Jonathan Saraki Makinde alliance. And that's on page 7. And on page 11, it reads counterinsurgency. U.S. delivers military supplies to Nigeria. And on page 19 of the Punch newspaper, it says Nigeria, UAE scrap tariff on over 13,000 goods. And beside the nameplate, it said victims identify alleged Owok church attackers in court. That's on page 7. And federal road spending soars to 489% to 3.23 trillion naira. That's on page 29 on the Punch. And the Star story reads, it says, governor's budget 525 billion naira for security as killings spread. And the writer says security votes jump 40% since 2023. Borno, Anambra, Delta record highest budget. Northeast, Southeast lead. And basically that's all of course, 2026 Armed Forces and Remembrance Day. And I just want to read this because it's very important. It says, today we hold close the returned, the deployed, the captives, the wounded, the missing, and the fallen. That's from General Olufemi Oluyede. That's the Chief of Defense Staff. And of course, we remember the armed forces today, those that are alive. We acknowledge your sacrifice, and those who have died in the cause of service. We remember you today, and we remember your sacrifice also. God bless all our armed forces. Very important.
Our men and women in uniform.
Yes, our men and women in uniform. We acknowledge you all. And next is the Daily Trust. And Uyi will take us and run us through that.
Great. So let's run right through those headlines for you. How my wife died after doctors left scissors in her stomach. Again, this is with reference to the other headline we had brought you earlier. U.S. delivers critical military supplies to Nigeria. We are also now hearing, even though we have not been able to independently verify that U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is on his way to Nigeria to meet with defense and military leadership. So we'll see how that pans out. But again, if that is what it is, it means that the collaboration between the United States and Nigeria will go places, all right, in a manner of speaking. Nigeria, UAE signed deal to waive tariffs on over 7,000 Nigerian products. Ex-PDP assembly candidate, 4 others killed in Benue. I could feel a gush of bombs on my skin just reading this, right?
It's very sad.
It is.
Very sad. We're going back to Benue again. We're not done with Yelwata. We're still on that. People are still trying to count their losses. And where Yelwata was deadly, it was bad. We covered that and we spoke about it on Global Morning. And it's just unfortunate that we're going back to Benue again. When would this stop? Like really, for once, I was one person that thought that the intervention of the United States would actually, it might not take this out completely, but at least it would drop it to the barest, that at least we can raise our heads again. Internal displaced persons will be thinking of going back to their homes to start afresh because of the intervention of foreigners, that's the United States. But like right now, back to back, if it's not Katsina today, it's Benue tomorrow. If it's not Benue tomorrow, it's some other state. And it's just alarming, and it's becoming more scarier every single day. And we do not know what next. And I think it's not something for individuals or governors in that state to relax. I think we need to put in more, to intensify our efforts to really curb this menace, because a lot of people are dying on the daily. These are our brothers, our sisters. These are individuals who are breadwinners. These are children being separated from their parents. It's very traumatic. It's really very traumatic to see that little kids seeing their parents or sisters being butchered right in front of them, being shot right in front. It's very gory, and we just don't know when this is going to stop. It needs to stop. Like seriously, if it's a dialogue or something, we need to. And that's why I'm just, the release of those band, like I'm trying to process it. I keep going back and forth with it. I'm trying to process what must have led to that. Is it really, but who knows? I just hope the needful is done as soon as possible. It's just unfortunate, really. It is. Especially in Benue State. Really, it's very unfortunate.
It should put more pressure on the states and indeed the federal government, all right, to look at all of these. Okay. Protests. Edo governor orders release of AAU students. All right. What else? Nigeria face Morocco in high stakes AFCON semi-final today. Well, we have come a long way already now. Mary will say we have gone too far to give up now.
Exactly.
All right, so let's continue the winning streaks.
Exactly.
Make Nigeria proud.
Keep
put
making
our
us
dear
proud.
country on the map for the right reasons.
Exactly. Anytime I read reports about how they're making us proud, there's always this smile on my face. I'm patriotic. I love Nigeria. I'm thankful for Nigeria.
If you had your way, you'll be there in Morocco.
Exactly.
Cheering them on.
Cheering and screaming, go Nigeria, go, make us proud and all of that. But at the same time, we can just cheer from afar. Hi.
Sure, for whatever it's worth.
For whatever is worth.
All right, let's look at the last one from the Daily Trust for you. On the fifth of the front page, it says, Sokoto community is deserted over bandits attacks. So apparently bandits have taken up leadership there. All right, read up all these details associated with these headlines from the Daily Trust as we switch to the Nigeria News Direct now.
All right, now the Nigerian News Direct, above the nameplate, it says tariff hike. Shippers cancel order suspension, threatens sanctions. And that's on page 15 of the Nigerian News Direct. Now, on page 4, Tinubu won't dump Wike over Rivers crisis, and that's on Fayose, and that read is on page 4.
Can he make that call?
Can he make that call, really?
Is it not above his pay grade?
Exactly, but let's just, well, we do not know. You know, with politicians, you cannot predict anything. You just have to.
The more you look, the less you see.
Thank you. All right, moving on now on page 13. It says, new tax laws aim to ease burden, not increase taxes. And that's from NRS, chairman. And below the nameplate says, Nigeria wins big as UAE drops tariffs on thousands of exports, okay? And we have two riders there. It says, deal unlock tariffs, free access for over 70,000 Nigerian products. And the second rider says, expand investor protections, open pathway into wider Middle East markets. And that's on page 13. Now, at the foot of it all, we have, of course, there's a picture there with our dear president and, of course, the UAE president and officials, of course.
The hosts.
The host, of course. And on page 4, it says, Ekiti, court nullifies PDP Gober primary, orders fresh poll ahead of 2026 election. And on page 13, it says, Lagos records 19.7 billion naira property loss to fire incidents in 2025. And basically, that's the major headlines on the Nigerian News Direct. Next is the Nigerian Tribune, and Uyi will run us through that paper.
Thank you, Jemai. So incidentally, it turns out that's our last paper this morning. It says here, top left corner, our church massacre. DSS lists 10 witnesses, tenders more documentary evidences. Page 3 is where you would find those details. AFCON semis, I fear Osimhen Iwobi Lukman, Morocco coach. It's good for you to fear us ahead of the match. NFF chairman Alex fears over officiating. And then the big one says, U.S. delivers military supplies to Nigeria. 129 terrorists arrested, 55 killed, 309 hostages rescued in Kwara Kogi. That is credited to the Nigeria Police Force. Details on pages 2 and 8. Olabisi Onambajo's wife, Lucia, dies at 100 years. Juba read that a while ago.
Yes, I did.
Tinubu Abiodun pay tributes. After protest, shippers cancel orders shipping companies to suspend fee hike. A bit of health here. Sugary drinks increase risk of heart disease in children. That's an expert's position. Ekiti poll court nullifies PDP governorship primary, orders fresh exercise. FG, that is federal government, begins implementation ahead of agreement signing with ASU, referring to the Academic Staff Union of Universities. What more do we have? It says NIWA to acquire barges, vessels with 10.3 billion naira in 2026. That's the Nigerian Inland Waterways Agency. You have two riders to the story. To dredge 100 kilometers waterways with 1.8 billion naira. Concerns as NAQS allocates 385 million naira to fiscal projects amidst Nigeria's food export challenges. Those are your headlines, and as always, we strongly recommend that you read up details for yourself across all of these papers and their headlines. And again, we'd like to remind you that Global Television, as a broadcast media entity, or the team here on Global Morning, does not in any way contribute to these headlines or their details. Our job is to bring you the headlines exactly as published by their respective publishers. We're taking a break now. When we return, it will be time to join Ogochukwu Mobuno with Social Bars. up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Good morning and welcome to Social Buzz here on Global Morning. I am Ogochukwu Mobnor, and we are going to be discussing about trending issues on social media, and we have picked one for the sake of our time this morning here on Global Morning. And yes, we're talking about hoodlums who abandoned their munitions while fleeing the police. In Delta State, Police Command has forwarded a planned kidnap operation and recovered firearms and ammunition from the fleeing hoodlums, who also abandoned their soaked gari and granite. In a statement issued on Tuesday and signed by the Police Public Relations Officer Bright Edafi, the command said operatives of the CP Special Assignment Team, acting on credible intelligence, stormed a suspected criminal hideout along a bush path in the Upper Agbaro area of the state. According to the statement, intelligence reports indicated that about 6 suspected kidnappers were sighted in the area, prompting a coordinated operations at about 9:35 p.m. on January 11, 2026. The operation was led by Julius Robinson in collaboration with community vigilantes. Upon sighting the police operatives, the suspects opened fire, the command said, adding that officers responded with superior firepower, forcing the suspect to flee with varying degrees of injury. The police disclosed that the fleeing suspects abandoned weapons and other incriminating items at the scene. Photos of the items recovered include a bowl of soaked gari with 3 spoons, nylons of granules, a nylon of gari, sachets of alcoholic drinks, machetes, lighter, 1 FNC rifle loaded with 1 round of live ammunition, 1 pump action gun with 32 rounds of live cartridge. All exhibits have been recovered and taken into custody. That the statement said, noting that a manhunt had been launched to arrest the suspect, who escaped. Reacting to the development, the Commissioner of Police Delta State Command, CP Aina Adeshola, commended the operatives for what he described as their courage and effective use of intelligence. The CP reiterated that the command remains resolute in denying criminal elements the space to operate, warning that Delta State will continue to be hostile to all forms of criminality. All right, so this is, when you look at the picture there, I don't know. I don't know is this what they use ransom money for? The number of granules we're seeing there, sachets, drinks, and then this gari is like 1 bucket of gari. But let's take a few comments from social media. We have a lot of funny comments, but we had to pick a few for the sake of our time. We have Niger Hairstyle. Niger Hairstyle says, if not abroad, they will trace the granules to where they bought it. Of course, they have fingerprints, and exchange. Definitely you might have guessed that. And the next one is from Bosola. And Bosola says, I'm very sure the policemen arranged those items with their bare hands. Fingerprint tracing is nothing in this country. Oh, Jim. All right, lastly, we're taking from Gilbert Constructions, and Gilbert says no database would have been easier to get their DNA and go after these guys. Very well, for them to see those things left, definitely. I know we do have a database, but I don't know how functional. And that's why I'm not alone today in the studio. I have with me Jumai Manson. Good morning, Jumai.
Hi, Ogochukwu. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. And you?
Okay, when I saw Gary and Granot, I was like, okay. Okay, what am I saying? It's just very sad, really, Ogo. It's really very sad. It's disheartening when you see things like that. And you just wonder, why would these bandits or kidnappers, why would you, of all things to buy, with all the money that you terrorize and kill people for, you see, that's why those kind of monies will never last. You only use it for things that are, things are so, how will I say it? I'm looking for a particular word. It's just, it's just unfortunate, really. It's very, very sad, really. And truly, if it was abroad, they would trace where they bought that Granot and Gary from with the fingerprints and all of that you mentioned, really. It's just unfortunate.
I think they should be able to do it here in Nigeria. I think we have
really forensic.
Yes, I think we should have them in Nigeria. It's just how functional are they? Because sometimes they tell you we have bought this equipment to do this, to do that. Yes. You are seeing them there on TV. You're seeing them live, but who is handling them? Are they even functioning, or they just put them as audio there? Let them just be there like we have it. That's the thing, because most times you get to hear, oh, we released, okay, we paid ransom money, we released some. You see different traces, but then at the end of the day, we don't get to hear that they've been able to make any arrest, arrest any of these kidnappers and all of that. So it is how functional they use, how do they use this, how functional are these equipment, and I think that's what we should be looking at, all the time, because we are tired of hearing that, oh, they saw a trace, or they saw something that could lead to these people, but then we don't get to see any arrest.
Exactly.
I don't think I've really seen any tangible arrest for a very long time, from these security operatives. I'm not saying they're not doing their job. I know they are doing very well. They are trying, but I think we should be seeing more of, arrest for, arresting these people, because you can't just keep person and just be walking the town freely and drinking your Gary, you have
to emphasize the Gary.
That yellow Gary is too clean. Anyway, for the sake of our time, do not worry, we'll be bringing you more gist on Social Buzz Extra later on by 12:30 today. So please stay tuned, and thank you so much, Jumai, for your contribution to today's topic.
Welcome.
All right, that's why we'll be closing the curtains today for Social Buzz, on Global Morning. I am Ogoch Kumobno. Please stay with us as Global Morning continues.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, it's Global Morning on Global Television, and today we'll be looking at the first discuss of the day, talking about women in politics, inclusivity when it comes to women in political offices today on the program. And what comes to mind when you hear that? Well, just relax. Let me just give you a rundown and just a short brief when it comes to that. Now, women's inclusivity in Nigeria politics, it refers to active participation, and of course, and fair representation of women in political decision-making at all spheres and all levels of government. Now, although women make up almost half of it when it comes to such issues in Nigeria's population, now their representation in elective and appointive political offices remains significantly low. Now, several factors limit women's participation, including cultural and religious norms, gender stereotypes, economic disadvantages, political violence, and lack of access to party structure. Now, structure and funding also. Now, these challenges often discourage women from contesting elections or being supported by political parties. Now, inclusive political systems that promote women's participation lead to more balanced governance, improved policy outcomes, and laws that better address issues such as education, healthcare, social welfare, and gender equality. Now, women bring diverse perspectives and experiences that straighten democratic processes. Now, promoting women's inclusivity in Nigerian politics is not only a matter of equality, but a critical step to forward sustainable development, good governance, and a truly representative of democracy. Today, I am being joined by a very good friend of mine. I'll call her my own sister, no other person than Barrister Mariam Marwa Abdul. She is the Executive Director, Women and Children's Rights and Empowerment Foundation, and she's joining me on the program this morning. Hi, Barrister Mariam, how are you doing today?
Fine, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. And of course, I'm not doing it alone. I have my co-host here, Uya Agbomofuigbe. We'll be engaging you in the course of the first discuss of the day. Thank you for being a part of the program, despite the very short notice. Thank you so much, Mariam Marwa Abdul. Thank you for being a part of the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what comes to mind when you hear women in politics? What do you think we're not being represented enough, or do you think we're just there? I was discussing with Uyi today, and it just seems as if we start the process, we make what we want to do known to the general public and how we want to impact and take that move to the next level. But when it comes to the voting or election day, you see many individuals tilting their votes towards the male gender. Why do you think it's so?
Yes, because unfortunately, we have a patriarchal structure in Nigeria and Africa, in fact, the world over. Many people still have a mindset that a woman cannot take the wheel. She cannot lead a nation, for instance. She can't be a senator. We've seen the case of Barrister Natasha Aboti, what she went through for stating her rights, and the extent that she was marginalized for over 6 months, or actually suspended for something that men have been doing for many years. It's difficult for us to remove our cultural biases and remove our impositions on women's political participation. As soon as a woman, like you asked, what comes to mind, you immediately choose, that woman must be somebody who is wayward. How can she say she wants to run for politics? Definitely she's going to go and sleep around. Nobody ever thinks of, this woman, her discipline, if she wants to be in the health issues in the house, maybe she's a medical doctor. This person is a lawyer, she's intelligent, she has something to bring to the table, her constituents respect her, they like her. Nobody ever thinks in those terms. They always, even women join in the bandwagon and start saying, this woman, she must be a loose person for her to say she wants to be in politics. And it's quite unfortunate, and really it's weighing everybody down. It's weighing everybody down. And then we also look at our 35% affirmative action. It's very, very low, but it's something that, people have been clamoring for years. And we still haven't gotten that mandate yet. So there are so many things that are against women when they want to come out and vie for political positions.
All right, Miriam, if you don't mind, I'm just going to cut in at this point briefly. All right, incidentally, you lead a foundation that focuses on the rights of women. I mean, you empower them. You are a lawyer. You are not unfamiliar with this terrain, apparently. But let's talk about the elements, or if you like, the factors that make Nigeria a very peculiar environment for women to operate in. I mean, like Juma and I talked about this morning, we have seen women acquire far more education these days than we had seen in decades before now. We have seen women also come into, if you like, a place of leadership more than ever before. Look at Obasanjo while he was president for 8 years, the number of women that he brought to the front, if you like, to lead. The former president, Jonathan, also did that. We saw a handful of women in the lifetime of the administration of former president, now deceased, Buhari. With all of these, how much more work do women need to do for their voices to be heard? To what extent can they put their foot in the door?
There are so many things against them. Having your foot in the door and having all the education in the world. I mean, the height of education is a doctorate. And you and I both know that there's so many. My younger sister has a doctorate. And we can count on, on our fingers and toes how many women have all these credentials. But there's a lack of political will for them to get to the positions that they want to get to. If you analyze where a woman is going to get, I think it's 1 billion naira now to run for senator, for instance, or how much is the form and all those things.
All right, Mariam, are you there? Okay. All right, Mariam, are you there?
For a minute.
Okay.
Yes, I apologize.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
As I was saying.
Go ahead. All right. You know what? Let's quickly go on a very quick break. We'll be back shortly with Mariam Marwa Abdul. Let's quickly go on a break. We'll be back soon.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, you're welcome back, and we'll be continuing with our first discuss of the day, talking about women in political leadership. And of course, we have Mariam Mara Abdul here. She is the Director General of Women Empowerment and Children's Rights Foundation. Mariam, it's great to have you here on the program.
Thank you.
All right, so you were trying to make your point made before we went on that quick break. Can you go ahead with your point so I can ask you the next question?
Yeah, my point was that how many women can afford to run financially? Because the backing of men, many men come together and help men vie for political positions.
Very
we
true.
all know that. So how many men and women will back a woman to run? So there's a financial constraint. And like I've mentioned, there's a cultural constraint. Nobody wants a woman to be the head because you have religious doctrines and then you have cultural doctrines that actually say the opposite. So many people, their hands are tied, with regards to that. So there's so many limitations. You don't even have enough. Do you know here in Kaduna State, there is only one woman in the State House of Assembly, Honorable Munirat. She's the only one. And that doesn't perturb anybody. It is not strange to anybody. So we have a long way to go. As your colleague mentioned, the presidents have tried to have women's political participation be higher than, predecessors. President Goodluck Jonathan did that. President Buhari did that. And it's really like dropping some drops in the ocean. It really isn't budging. It's not really making a difference, unfortunately. In paper, it looks like, they have 15%. Oh, wow. You're talking about 100%. And we are a far cry from other African nations and other European nations who have female, prime ministers have been there since the 70s in the UK. In Australia and everywhere else in the world. We've had President Sirleaf Johnson in Liberia. I really can't understand, what the problem is going forward.
But you know what, Mariam, aside political parties that actually hinder or promote women participation in politics, let's talk about the women folk. I know you deal a lot with women, like Uyi said. But do you think we are the barriers against ourselves when it comes to supporting women in attaining this particular height when it comes to political positions and leadership?
I think sometimes if you have a lot of women trying to run for a position or vie for some kind of political position, they almost have to kiss up to the men. So, for instance, in the Natasha Akpoti Barsat, Natasha's case, there were 3 very, very notable women who are against her actions. And this is because they also want to secure their own position. They are a minority already. They cannot be seen to be against the men. You understand what I'm saying? They cannot go against the Senate president and say, we want to support her. They should. That's my personal opinion. They should have. But because of the structural situation, they cannot be seen to go against their Senate president. And inadvertently, they had to go against Barrister Natasha. So you have, in a larger scale, you have that kind of thing. It's a boys' game. It's a man's world. If you want to progress, so to speak, inside of this man's world, you somehow have to cater to the man's ego and butter him up. And then you are going against the women, if that makes any sense.
So that means as a woman, you have to go against your own gender in order to stay afloat.
That's the only way you stay afloat. It's a game of the survival of the fittest. So the whole world looks at this as, she's against her woman folk. If 3 women out of 50 men are against 1 woman, will there be a difference? No. But if 50 women or 40 women or even 25 women are against, supporting a woman for whatever reason it is, then there can be some, like you said, foot in the door. But until and unless we have enough women in the first place, we cannot even move forward. Sometimes it's as if, women are against women. It's not the case. It's for us to survive in the game. That's the unfortunate thing. Let me give you another example. When there are meetings, and this is from my experience talking to people who have, I interviewed Madam Sarah Jibril in the early 2000s when she was vying for president and other positions. And she explained to me they set their meetings. They say 9 o'clock in the evening or 5 o'clock, and we're talking about decision-making things, and everybody's on the table and everybody's on board. And then they go back around 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock a.m. in the morning when they know you're at home. And then they thwart all what you've discussed and all of the policies you've kind of signed and every other thing you've discussed, and they tear it apart. So women had to start leaving their homes at 1 o'clock in the morning to go and sit in these meetings so that their voices can be heard. You understand what I'm saying? How many husbands will allow their wives to get into a vehicle and drive out to a meeting at so-so-so person's place or so-so-so office and discuss serious issues that she needs to be on board with? So it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. And until and unless something changes to normalcy, it's going to continue like this.
Right. So we understand you have an engagement coming up for you, off the record at top of the hour. So we don't want to take all your time. I would like to ask you this because in light of this conversation, I seem to have a bit of bias for politics and how women can play more pivotal role in that space. So I'm going to ask you, do you think, given all you know, you just alluded to the fact that in the early 2000s, you had interviewed someone in the stature of Sarah Jibril, and it's been 26, 27 years since we've been here, Fourth Republic, return to democracy, and what have you. Is it your opinion that we should now begin to think of a political party exclusively floated for women?
It's a good idea, theoretically. But why would you do that? You have an all-men's party, quote unquote. Why should we create a party when we're all citizens? Is it only women that will vote for women? You understand what I'm saying?
But Mariam, that's the only way our voices can be heard, because we will not go out at about 1 a.m. to attend meetings.
I know. I think there should be integration. There should be. I always talk about equity. I don't talk about equality. There will never be equality, but there should be equity, a standard. And the standard is we should join. If I want to be in APC or I want to be in PDP, I should be. I should also be. Why should I create my own group? I don't believe in that. But if at the end of the day, theoretically or practically, we find out that that's something that will help, I can't understand how, but maybe something that will help, fine, then, it's something that can be considered. But I don't know. I haven't looked the world over, and I haven't really seen that kind of thing. If you have a model state or a best practice, you can share with us. But I'll probably research about that and see if it worked, and then I can propagate for that.
All right, thank you so much, Mariam Marwa Abdul. Thank you for your time, your wheels of knowledge when it comes to this issue of the women's factor in Nigeria's political landscape. And of course, Mariam Marwa Abdul, she is the Executive Director, Women and Children's Rights and Empowerment Foundation. Thank you so much for being a part of Global Morning this morning. Thank you so much, Mariam. I really appreciate it. Have an amazing day ahead. Bye-bye. All right, up next is our second discuss of the day on Global Morning. Do not go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
we delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, thank you so very much, everyone, for joining us on this conversation. Been a long morning already, but we're being joined now by someone who will help us find sense in one of the several fights that Nigeria has been putting up against criminals, but this time a different shade of criminals. For decades, Nigeria has had real-time, in some cases, existential reasons to fight against illicit drug, what some people now call, if you like, illicit substance. However, we have seen that fight go nasty, in some cases very controversial. As a matter of fact, there have been instances where Nigerians have had cases, had reasons to doubt whether or not we were sincere about the fights, and more importantly, whether or not we were winning the fight. But we have seen the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, that is the NDLEA, for example, particularly under the leadership of Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired, now redefining how that fight is being done and ultimately won. One of the things we've also seen very noticeably so is the collaboration that the agency has found with entities across the world, whether in Europe or continental America. As it stands today, however, what is the impact, the adverse implications, that is, of drug abuse for Nigeria and indeed Nigerians economically and otherwise? What does it do to our image in the Community of Nations? Those are some of the issues I want to quickly look at in the course of the program this morning. And as it turns out, we're joined by someone who not only understands these dynamics, but will walk us through exactly what the implications are in the course of our conversations this morning. Let's move on now to talk about what exactly the challenges are and how Nigeria will be able to ultimately win this war. in this regard. We're joined this morning by someone who is Commandant General with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, that is the NDLEA, to help us find sense in this regard, as well as help us understand really what it is that Nigerians must do individually to find real-time results. Dr. Ibrahim Abdul, Deputy Commander General and Director Assets and Financial Investigation with the NDLEA. He is also a board member of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and someone who doubles as well as a legal expert when it has to do with the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. That's quite a lot in one place. We'd like to say a big thank you to you, Dr. Abdul, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Great. Well, I would like to call you a man of many parts, but Juma, my colleague, and I will take our time to, if you like, take advantage of your expertise regarding this discussion we're having this morning. When we talk about drug abuse, growing up, people will say, well, if you abuse drugs, it simply means you smoke marijuana. Help our viewers understand what the concept is when you talk about drug abuse.
There are so many definitions attached to the concept or the word drug abuse. Let me say concept itself is more appropriate to use that. You see, the first and foremost, if you take drug indiscriminately without the prescription of the doctor, of course you have committed drug abuse. If you take a drug that is banned by law, where there's legislation that this usage of these drugs is against the law, you have also committed drug abuse. If you take drug inappropriately, probably a doctor has prescribed drug for you and you got well, then after you now started seeing other symptoms regarding the same kind of ailments you had, and you prescribed the drug for yourself, you have committed drug abuse. So you can see there are so many things attached to the concept of drug abuse.
Okay. I would like to ask a question. What is the role of the NDLEA when it comes to curbing this menace of drug abuse in our society, for viewers out there who are trying to understand what role they actually play when it comes to nipping this particular menace in the bud?
You see, Nigeria is a signatory to the Convention Against Illicit Drug Trafficking and Abuse of 1988. The United Nations, as a result of the yearning and caused by so many people in every strata of the world, that drug has become a global problem, which has also connection with commission of so many criminal activities under the sun, decided to enact what is known as convention, which is also treaty-like. They started with the 1961 convention, followed by the 1971 convention, and the additional protocol of 1972, then now brought out all the other conventions together in 1988, and now enacted the Convention Against Illicit Traffic in Narcotic Drug and Psychotropic Substances of 1988. And when Nigeria became a signatory, the NDLEA Act was formed. And the NDLEA Act, by virtue of Section 3, NDLEA is the sole law enforcement agency that has right to arrest drug offenders. And part of the work that we do in NDLEA is curbing supply reduction and also drug demand reduction. Supply reduction has to do with the arrest of offenders, probably in land, sea, and air borders, and also those who abuse drugs inside the society. Where the drug demand has to do with something like public enlightenment, rehabilitation, drug demand reduction, like what we call the United Nations called DPTC, drug prevention, treatment, and cure. Those who are facing the problem of drug addiction, we have already established 30 rehabilitation centers where we do interventions. Minor interventions we do it ourselves, but the one that has psychological implication, we associate with the Ministry of Health to give us the services of psychiatrists to take care of those. So apart from this one, these two aspects of supply reduction and drug demand reduction, we do what is called confiscation of assets of those who are involved in drug trafficking. We have collaboration with the NFIU EFCC, ICPC, all of them. So we seize asset. Immediately a person is arrested, the first thing we do is to look at his account number. If we don't have the account number, we generate the account number through the NFIU. We block the account with the consent of the Attorney General. We follow the money. In the course of following the money, we will now follow the assets. Then we confiscate the assets, then use the Process of Crime Act or the NDLA Act to get interim forfeiture in court. After getting the interim forfeiture, before the final determination of the action in court, we apply for, that's after the final determination, we now apply for final forfeiture. Then we already have what is called a domicile account with the central bank where this process of crime normally goes so that government will use it for sustainable economic development of the nation. So we do what is called public auction. When we auction, then the money now goes into that account. These are just integral parts of the things that we do in NDLA. But most importantly, it's very good for the public to know what kind of laws do NDLA enforce.
Exactly.
We have the NDLA Act, Cap N30, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. That is the cardinal law that we do. Then we have the Process of Crime Act 2022, which we use to carry out civil forfeiture as against criminal forfeiture. Then we also, in some instances, also apply the mutual evaluation, legal assistance laws, and also the terrorist financing law. Like every law enforcement agency in Nigeria has right to arrest even terrorist financiers and even terrorists. What we don't do is that we may not have the power to prosecute, but we can transfer it to the Office of Attorney General or those SSS who have powers to prosecute those cases. But you cannot just see anybody committing an offense in your own presence simply because you lack the jurisdiction. You now decide to leave him like that. Arrest him and take him to the relevant authorities, and that's what we do.
Fantastic.
Interesting. I'd like us to talk about back at home. I would like you to also enlighten us on this. A few years ago, there was the unsubstantiated story that some drug vendors, for want of a better word, some drug barons had come from different parts of the world, from, if you like, Latin America, somewhere from Asia into Nigeria. They were milling drugs here on our soil. They said that was basically the underlying factor that was driving this proliferation of different drugs. Loud, they talk about Canada Loud, they talk about different kinds of drug names you've never heard before and things like that. Is that something that is a reality, or is it just a figment of someone's imagination?
It's not a figment of imagination, it's a statement of fact. But let me first of all start by letting the public know what categories do the world place Nigeria as far as drug is concerned.
Right.
Nigeria is viewed as a transit nation, as against a producer nation. The only drug we produce in Nigeria is cannabis sativa, which are grown normally in southwestern part of Ondo and the rest of the country, Edo and the rest. You understand? But as a transit nation, it simply means drugs that come from South American countries or Southeastern Asia. Those that come from South American countries like Colombia, Bolivia, Peru, Brazil, those ones are normally the cocaine. They normally come through some routes. There are some corridors where they come. Most of the time they come in Addis Ababa, or sometimes the Gulf of Guinea, or sometimes one of these countries. When they come, so Nigerians will come to that place and pick the drug, just like a game of baton, during where you hand over the baton to another person, then they bring it to Nigeria. When they prepare the drug, then they take it to Europe and America, and that is why they call us a drug source country, not drug producer countries. Why those coming from Southeastern Asia mostly are those drugs like heroin. They produce heroin in India, in Afghanistan. They call them Golden Triangle. On the other side of Africa, they call them Golden Crescent. Those ones to come through this transit point, Nigeria. Then when it comes to Nigeria will prepare it. From there, they take it to those. But the only drug. But now, let me come to the issue of this clandestine laboratory that you're talking about.
Right.
Nigerians employ the services of Bolivians mostly to come after they have established their clandestine license to produce methamphetamine. Methamphetamine is the drug that are mostly used there. Most of the drug that they use ephedrine, pseudoephedrine. They bring these quantities, and what they do is that, before you bring ephedrine and pseudoephedrine, you must pass through NAFDAC. So what they do is that NAFDAC will say, maybe their law says you should not bring more than 1,000 kilograms. But those people, their power of manufacturing is not more than 500, but they have already engaged those clandestine laboratory operators, so they will sell the remaining 500 while they utilize the 500. So those people now will start manufacturing those methamphetamine in Nigeria. So that is why we have made so many raids of those clandestine laboratories and arrested so many Bolivians who were normally engaged to come and help Nigerians produce those methamphetamines.
All right, Dr. Ibrahim, for as much as we've heard about the raids by the NDLEA, we know that, of course, the chairman, no other person than Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired, is doing an amazing job when it comes to curbing this menace of drugs and substance abuse in our society. But what are the challenges, though, when it comes to these issues of drugs and substance? Because more and more cases every single day. And some youths in society, they'll blame it on the fact that there's unemployment. They'll tell you that there's so many things that facade around that area, why they go into jobs and substance. And we have numbers on the rise. And in Kaduna, there's a high number. In Kano, there's a high number. In Lake, so many places on the rise. For as much as the NDLEA is doing an amazing job, there's still so much. What are the challenges?
You see, there are so many predisposing factors that make people take drug, or people participate even in drug trafficking itself. These are the socio-economic factors. First and foremost, the issue of poverty. People live in penury, people live in abject poverty, especially the economic situation which the country finds itself. So in most cases, you see people trying to get something that will neutralize this situation where they have, so it will drive them into taking drugs so that it will minimize the tension of the penury that they are facing. It's one of those factors. Another factor is peer group influence, which, through this usage of these social medias, our youth interact through chatting and be sending to each other drugs. And sometimes there is also this need for experimentation among the youths. If they see their peers taking drugs, they want to experiment and feel and also get the kind of pleasure that those people get. In the process, now they will become drug addicted. Then also there's this availability and accessibility of these drugs, where you see these drug merchants, pharmaceuticals and the rest, sometimes they sell drugs indiscriminately, even without the prescription of doctors. So if these people can get available drugs like that, of course, they will have access to it. You understand? So sometimes, even those people, you remember those times when we were in schools, people take drugs for the purpose of so that they can read overnight to pass it, and other ones, factors also, that those who engage in sports to take those kind of steroids or as performance enhancement drugs and so on. So those are some of the reasons why people take drugs. And also there's also advent of this kind of new drugs that are not even legislated in law. People combine different types of drugs to arrive at something, to the extent that people take even lizard dungs. Some people will even put their noses in the latrine and sewages to be inhaling it, and so on. Then there is also this drug that they produce in the southeastern Nigeria called Imprumiri. All this one combination of gin, wine, and Indian hemp, and so all those kind of things are the predisposing factors why people take drugs. And you find out that the economic aspect of it is that the most important part of the society that are more productive are mostly the youths. And if they take this kind of drug, then it means there will be diminishing return. Right. In the sense, because in addition to that, if they are incarcerated in jail when they are convicted again, important part of the society that will develop our economy to have been incarcerated. So it will have that kind of economic consequences to the nation.
I'd like us to talk about our borders, Dr. Abdul. Right. I've spoken to retired army officers, those who have served in the Nigerian immigration, for example. The challenges are very clear about our borders. I remember maybe 15 thereabout years ago, we're told that we had in this country no less than 160 porous borders. I can't authenticate those figures. But let's talk about how porous borders contribute very significantly to the issue of drug peddling, especially within the ECOWAS sub-region.
Well, actually, it's one of the major problems hampering the effective curbing of drug abuse, not only in Nigeria, but in the whole of Africa. Like this kind of issue of porous borders were one of the issues cited when even Nigeria was actually put into the grey list by the Financial Action Task Force. You hear that recently Nigeria just got out from the grey list. We didn't fall in the black list because most of us were among the lawyers who went and actually faced the Financial Action Task Force, especially the cooperative groups to now defend Nigeria on that issue. And there is the issue of borders. Then later on now, the customs people who are representing Nigeria and also other policy makers, they brought out the creation of new borders. Now, so many borders were now created. Most of those places where those borders were porous now have become borders, and officers have been posted to those places. So you can see that Nigeria who has shown commitment on its own side to address this issue of porous border, and that, with many other things, led to Nigeria's removal from the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force.
What will it, just before Jumai jumps right back in, what sort of arrangements do we have in place now in terms of saying, look, let's reach out to other countries of the world? It's a global village, no doubt about that. We need to take each other by the hand in the manner of speaking. Talk to us about strategic alliances with other parts of the world. I mean, we have exited the grey list now. Maybe that's something we should lift our hands and be grateful for. But it's not who yet now, is it?
You see, in terms of international cooperation, one of the things that Nigerians were rated to get out of the grey list is what we call IO2, immediate ACON 2. There's no a language that is only known to us who went and defended Nigeria.
Okay.
It's called international cooperation, which means you can solicit the assistance of other nations, because sometimes somebody will commit an offense here, he will run to the other country and hide. While somebody, maybe the drug dealer, will be in a foreign country and he sends a courier, you only arrested the courier, you cannot get him. In some situation, that suspect that you arrested here may have assets abroad. So how do we now get the asset, and how do we get that other baron to repatriate the asset and also to extradite that person? We use what is called mutual legal assistance, which normally comes either formal or informal. The formal one is the one that you use the central authority domicile in the office of the Attorney General to make requests. That is for extraditing the person who is the baron who is abroad, which we have done a lot. And the Office of Attorney General has brought that person, and those people have been put to book, merging them and charging them for conspiracy with the couriers that they sent. But that one is not always fast, because it entails a lot of processes. You need to get court order, you need to get court judgment, you need to get so many other things before that country obliges you that request. So what we do is that we sign MOUs sometimes between we law enforcement agencies, like let's say NDLA Nigeria, NDLA America, American DA, and so on, that in the event of that kind of thing, let them give us information about that one. The MOU will also specify the asset of that person so that they can repatriate the asset back to us. Sometimes we do sharing formula 50-50 in the MOU. So between us and the country that helped us brought that in.
Right.
So that one is yielding positive outcome more than the formal one, which takes a lot of time and cumbersome procedure. That is what we have used, because one of the things that they use to rate us is that we have to show them how many mutual legal assistance we have entered, how many memorandum of understanding have we entered with other law enforcement agencies. So Nigerians have been able to do that one, and that is why we were able to get out of that immediate outcome too.
Talking about Nigerians, and let's bring it home now. In order to curb this menace, people will say the government has a role to play in this. We shouldn't leave it all in the hands of the NDLEA. Now, in order to, if not bring it to an end, but at least take it to the barest minimum, what can the government do putting hands with the NDLEA to curb this menace amongst youths in our society. Some will say recreational centers. Some will say, okay, employ the youths. Some will say all of those loopholes, we should close them down. What do you think the government can actually do when it comes to this particular interest of Nigerians?
There are so many things that have been put in place in government. You know, it is said that when there's a new sheriff in town, always you see changes.
Exactly.
There's a foremost judge in England known as Lord Denning LJ. In one of the judgments he had, he spoke about public policy. He said public policy is a very unruly horse. Once you ascribe it, you will not know where it will take you. Then later on now, in subsequent judgment that came, he now overruled himself and said, with a good man on the saddle, that public policy will take you to places.
True.
And that is why when the NDLA got a good man on the saddle of the person of General Marwa, we have seen a lot of reforms going on, positive ones. We have received a lot of commendation all over the world that Nigeria is actually serious on this issue of curbing drug generally. Because during his time, he formed what is called Interministerial Council, which he brought together Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, NACA, NAFDAC, law enforcement. All of them, they periodically hold meetings on how best to curb these drug issues. So in addition to that, he also formed what is called War Against Drug Abuse and co-opted so many people through advocacy, traditional rulers, religious leaders. Almost everybody in society are co-opted into it to help go to the community and do public enlightenment on the dangers of drug so that the issue will be resolved. Then he also formed what is called State Drug Abuse Drug Control Committee, headed by the first ladies of all the states. You understand? Then there's also Local Government Drug Control Committee, headed by the local government chairman. Then also he tried to also reach the communities through community leaders so that to address and control this issue of drug abuse and drug trafficking. These are many other things. And he also targeted certain groups where we'll be doing public enlightenment. The youths, that is the youths. Then you have the public places, the markets, even among the school children. To the extent that now in all the schools we organize what is called debate, quiz competition, football, all about drug. These are all new innovations brought by General Marwa, which were not there before. So you can see these are some of the things that we do.
Let's talk about these cartels and drug barons, the ones that keep coming up. You know, last year we read a report on Our Global Morning. There was an Indian woman who came into Nigeria, wrapped up, I will never forget, because what she wrapped the drugs in were chocolates. And she wrapped it in chocolates, brought it into Nigeria, and then we hear that it was it biscuits or something again?
Cookies.
Cookies. That's why I don't forget. Now, what means is being put in place to actually arrest these drug barons and these cartels? Because I think once we start with the barons and the cartels, there'll be the drug and substance abuse in our society might not go away, but it will reduce. So what are the needs in trying to nip them in the bud and trying to cut down on what they do when it comes to these drugs? Like you said, Nigeria is a transitional country. What has been put in place in that aspect?
You see, your question again?
That's what have you, drug barons and cartels now that bring in these drugs, they do not want to go away, they keep raising their ugly heads.
Becoming more sophisticated by the day.
And strong by the day when it comes to drugs and substance abuse.
You see, during the reign of General Marwa, we have engaged in so many capacity building programs on how to identify new modes of concealment. These modes of concealment that we are talking about, biscuits, people chocolate putting it in their hairs, females, and the rest. These are old ones that we have already known for a long time. What is happening is that the old ones that they thought we have forgotten, they have started bringing them back, putting them in their fingers, doing false bottom in this thing, and also ingestion. All these things are already known. But what we do is that we share typologies with other countries. There are some modes of concealment that were discovered by law enforcement of other countries where Nigeria have not known before. There are some that Nigeria have discovered they don't know. So we share typologies amongst us through some of the meetings that we have, international meetings. So even before they come to Nigeria, we have already had an idea of those kind of mode of concealment. And so that's so we'll keep on the watch in our land, air, and sea borders. Then when he comes again, formally, we are concentrating more on traffickers. These are just minor ones. They are men of straw, not men of means. They have some people who are actually behind them.
Very true.
So Marwa said, we don't have to concentrate on them. We have to look for medium range, then the high profile. So as a result of that, we were able to get up to 128 barons.
Really?
100, it has never happened in the history of Nigeria before during Marwa. So from this period of this January 2021 to 2025, 108 barons. And we employ a lot of tactics and techniques, sometimes using financial intelligence even to get those people. There are so many things that I do in my own department. If I want to get somebody, once I get hold to your own telephone number, you are finished. Anywhere you are in the world, I have collaboration with the American DEA, American FBI, American Internal Revenue Service. I have with the Interpol. I have with Egmont Group. I have with so many organizations that I can always bring you back anywhere you are. And all these things were created by Marwa. My department has linkage with the NFIU. They have linkage with NIMSI or people. They have linkage with corporate affairs to get beneficial ownership information. Sometimes you find out that, you see that is the beneficial owner, maybe is an owner of a company who must have sponsors or bought ticket to the suspect. So when we get hold to the name of the company, we use the Corporate Affairs Commission to unveil the corporate veil so that we see who lies behind and see the directors of the company. Then we apprehend them and now merge them together and sue them for conspiracy. So you can see all these linkages were established during Marwa. On my table, my assistant will just link and just get whatever information I have without going anywhere.
Fantastic.
The NDLEA, I mean, your agency, is, if you like, a product of the law. Of course, we understand there's the NDLEA Act. So it's only natural that we talk about legal frameworks around an agency as central as NDLEA. As it stands today, given the speed at which the reality of this drug space evolves, would you say there is need to take a second look at our laws regarding how we fight illicit substances?
Yeah, you're right. Right now, there's already amendment on the law that is going on before the National Assembly. You understand? There are so many things that were not part of the law before. There are new drugs that are springing up, which were not part of the NDLEA Act. The NDLEA has specifically mentioned some drugs, cocaine, heroin, and other similar drugs, and so on. But there are new drugs that are springing up. You know, in law, anything that is not written as law, if you commit it, you didn't commit any offense. So they have to be co-opted into the law. And that is why we made our own amendment and passed it to the National Assembly. And now it's now passing through the processes of legislation. Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break, everyone. It will appear this will be the first leg of this discussion. When we return, we will expand a little, look at assets confiscation, for example, and what the nexus is between, well, peddling of illicit drugs and terror financing, which is a big conversation in Nigeria and across West Africa today. Plus, we'll also take a look at U.S. attacks on Venezuela regarding some allegations of cartels in that country, well, again, pushing drugs into the U.S. and what the global implications are, including for a country like Nigeria. Please do stay with us. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, well, let's move forward with this conversation as we now talk about the challenge of terror financing in our country. Dr. Abdul, let's talk about how that we have seen these terrorists diversify in our very own eyes their sources of funding. One time we heard that some operators in Bureau de Change had been taken into custody by law enforcement. Later, we're told that even those who live abroad were also funding. And today, it appears that experts like yourself are now establishing a very strong link between drug peddling, or if you like, merchandising, and sponsorship of terrorism. Help us understand what dynamics are in play here.
You see, there are so many diversionary tactics used by these people. First of all, I want to tell you the linkage between drug and terrorism financing. Like most of these terrorists, no right-thinking member of the society will go and bomb a church or bomb a mosque or a public place without having the influence of drug. In most cases, if we arrest terrorists, the ones that we hand over to the National Security Advisor or to DSS, you find out that in their pockets or in their bags there are drugs, which means they are doing it under influence.
Right.
You understand? So that is the linkage between drug and these terrorist organizations. And these terrorists, there are many ways they use to bring money to sponsor this terrorism, especially those sponsors. Formerly, they were using the normal traditional method of wire transfer. But if you use wire transfer, it will leave paper trails in the bank.
So it can be tracked.
It can be tracked easily. So they now change that method again and start doing what is called Hawala. Hawala is the alternative remittance system, where you put money there in your local currency, then you collect money in foreign currency.
From the other end.
That one will not pass through the bank.
Right.
You understand? That one too, the Nigerian NFIU started tracing them and were giving information to law enforcement. So they now stopped that one too, completely. Then they started physical exportation of bulk cash and bearer negotiable instruments through land, sea, and air borders, using different modes of concealment to hide this money to bring it to Nigeria.
Right.
But you find out that with the expertise of NDLA in knowing the modes of concealment of drug, which is similar to the modes of concealment used by these terrorists, ordinarily it's supposed to be customs that will do this arrest, because they are the one in charge of a certain amount of monies coming into the country or going out. You know, you need to declare.
Exactly.
But because of our expertise in the mode of concealment, you find out that it's NDLA that's making arrests of this money.
Right.
Then we'll hand them to custom, and custom will take the credit.
Oh.
Because we're all working together.
Exactly.
So that is the essence of working in harmony.
Interagency collaboration.
Interagency collaboration. So they use that one too. So now they found out that we have detected that method. So they now changed again to the latest one, which is now using cryptocurrency. They use cryptocurrency because with cryptocurrency, with relative ease, within 1 second you can transfer $10 million. You understand?
Right.
So that is what they are using. But with these AML policies that have been put in place by Nigeria, especially under the supervision of the NFIU, and also the capacity building of all our officers, now we've been able to nab those people doing this cryptocurrency, and NFIU has brought devices used to trace this cryptocurrency to see the movement, those who send the money and those receivers.
Right.
You understand? Then they now send them to the relevant authority to prosecute them. And Nigeria is trying to put what you said, legal and institutional framework on this cryptocurrency, because now we don't know the agency that is the institutionalist. Security and Exchange Commission said they are the one in charge.
It's virtually not regulated.
The central bank is not regulated, and anything that is not regulated, I told you in law, if you commit it, what happened?
You go scot-free.
You didn't commit any offense.
Right.
So now the Finance Act is now within legislative processes. When that happens, we will now get to know the institutional framework and also the legal framework for curbing this issue of virtual currency, which involves cryptocurrency. But quite right, the central bank has come out clearly to say that the use of virtual assets in Nigeria is illegal. all this Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin,
right.
all these are illegal. But if you say it's illegal, it's just regulation. Regulation doesn't have the force of law. It has to be written first because it will have a force of law. Yeah.
I want us to talk about something that is more on of a global scale. We saw how that even a former president of Honduras had been jailed in the U.S. I mean, this was a former president of Honduras in South America. He had been jailed in the U.S. over allegations of drug peddling. We had seen how a former president of Mexico had also been accused of collecting $100 million from a drug baron, El Chapo. We have now seen how even a president in a place like Venezuela, talking about Nicolas Maduro, been accused of well, if you like, running cartels, even though we know a court in New York over time will help see to the resolution, or if you like, of that matter. But when you have a situation in your hands real time, where presidents in the 21st century are being accused of either being part and parcel of a drug funnel, so to speak, or looking the other way while the illicit trade is ongoing, how much should the world be bothered, especially an emerging economy like Nigeria?
Of course, the country should be bothered about that kind of issue. If you remember the case of Pablo Escobar.
Right.
Which country was he? I've forgotten this South American country.
Right.
He was the one even sponsoring the presidents, those who are to be the president. He brought about a lot of money to do that.
Yes.
And as a result, those people that he fielded as candidate, they emerged as president, so he had control of that thing. And, you know, to the extent that he even declared even the head of the drug agency there wanted, I even put a certain amount of money that they should bring his head for him to show how strong these cartels are.
In a country like Colombia.
In a country like that, now it's Colombia, I was trying to remember. But this issue of USA and which country?
Venezuela.
And Venezuela issue, it has political undertone in it. There are so many reasons that people have advanced why the president of America had to arrest that man violating international protocol, international law. The international law is that no country should interfere into the domestic activities of other sovereign nations.
Right.
So what he has done is a clear and strict violation of international protocols. You understand? But just like you said, it has happened before in several of it, to the extent that he has now removed USA from most of those international conventions, so that they will give the opportunity of doing what is called colonialism, or to bring back imperialism, which is no longer in vogue all over the country. But actually, some people say it's because of the drug going to USA.
Right.
Other people said he did that actually to stop the supply of fuel to China. And China, you know, is their own rival now.
Right.
Some people are no longer using the dollars; they are using the Chinese yen. Yeah. So many of these factors were responsible.
That's the Chinese yuan.
Is it Chinese yuan?
Yes.
Yeah. So those are those kind of things.
Interesting. I think Jomai was catching her breath for a second.
Yes, I was talking about this. I want to talk about the bilateral relationship between these countries.
You remember Manuel Noriega?
Noriega, right?
Yeah, he was forcefully abducted and taken to America to go and face the law that time. Yeah,
and that has become a very bad precedent.
Yeah.
But how has this particular menace, drugs and substances, affected our bilateral relationship with some other countries who are into drugs and substance, who make our country like a transition when it comes to Cuba? You mentioned India, you mentioned some countries also.
Hey, I don't understand your question.
How has it affected us, our relationship with them, when it comes to drugs and substance? Like you mentioned India, for instance, and we know that there are some countries like Mexico, Cuba, who are into, these are what they do to sustain themselves. Has it affected us as a country in any way?
Of course it will affect us, because it's not only those other countries where our own barons take the drugs to. Part of the drugs are also used in Nigeria. And when they are used in Nigeria, our youth take the drug, of course it will have detrimental effect, just like I have mentioned, all those consequences that we have. Apart from socio-economic consequences, there are even health consequences. These drugs cause a lot of damage to the system and organs of the body. It affects the lungs, it affects the heart, it affects the central nervous system. It also affects the immunity of people. And sometimes it also leads to so many diseases like venereal diseases and even hepatitis and HIV. And like I have said, also the workforce of the society, which are supposed to be mostly the youth, those ones who are into drugs, they have become useless. Some of them have been arrested and taken and incarcerated in prison. They have become useless. So it will affect the economy of the nation.
All right, so as we wrap up now, let's come back home, begin to domesticate this conversation once again.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that you also have under your belt experience in terms of financial crimes and economic crimes, which is also intertwined into this drug, illicit drug peddling, drug business that we're talking about now. But let's now talk about asset recovery. We keep hearing about things like Shell, tax havens where Nigerians, whether politically exposed or otherwise, or even those who run criminal rings, are running around the place from Asia to continental America to even Europe to, so to speak, invest stolen wealth from here in those places. Just a few days ago, the story again came through that yet another tranche of the Abacha loots, the infamous Abacha loots, is being repatriated. What exactly is the problem? We keep talking about, well, the CBN has now come up with new rules. There are now thresholds as to how much you can move out of the country. Well, the authorities are now able to trail or follow the money and so on and so forth. How much is this depleting our economy?
Of course, it will deplete a lot, our economy a lot, because most of these are political leaders who were accused of stashing money in what is called offshore locations or offshore financial centers located in offshore locations. Offshore locations are mostly those countries that were once under the British imperialism.
Right.
Cayman Island, Bahamas, Isles of Man, St. Kitts,
Panama.
Panama. These are all countries where you see those political leaders stashing our money in those countries. And why they become attractive is because they still maintain that duty of secrecy, not to reveal the amount to other countries. Sometimes even if we make requests to those people, they don't even oblige us because of that secrecy that they still have. So one of the stumbling blocks towards recovery of these assets from these offshore financial centers and offshore locations is the issue of secrecy, and sometimes there is lack of reciprocity on their own side. If it is them that now apply to us and say they want us to repatriate, we always oblige them, but they don't oblige, which means they are violating international law.
Right.
International law is all about reciprocity. Then one other stumbling blocks also towards asset recovery is this issue of lack of political will of some countries. There was a country where we applied for repatriation of funds. They said they are doing election. We should wait until when they finish the election, another government comes in before they oblige us. Then there's this issue of statute of limitation. In some countries, if a case has reached a period of 10 years, that means they will not answer us again. That's the end of the case. If a person is dead, they will not give you his own assets. Then if a person is under certain immunity, maybe he's a political leader, they will not oblige any request you make on that person. Meanwhile, the international protocols all have demolished whatever exists of duty of secrecy and made it flawless for people to always apply for this mutual legal assistance and get it. But some countries are still not abiding by it. But we Nigerians were always respecting these protocols and also responding to them whenever they make requests.
All right, so let's talk about the judiciary for a second, because everything you do revolves around the law.
Very true.
You are probably the best man to answer this question for us, being a lawyer yourself, a long-standing one for that matter. We see how that people are accused of all sort of, if you like, allegations in Nigeria, especially as it has to do with finance, public finance, that is.
Okay.
And the case drags. A teenager at the age of 16 gets married, starts raising children, starts having grandchildren. The case is still dragging. But the same person is accused of just maybe 5 or 10% of those same allegations away from Africa. And in a matter of days or weeks, they're already in jail. Prosecution done and dusted. Talk to us about the desperate need for us to reform our judicial sector.
most of these problems that you see with judiciary causing delay, and there is already a maxim of law which says delay defeats equity. Vigilantibus non domentigis jura subvenuint. That's what is said in Latin. So sometimes lawyers employ a lot of technicalities like interlocutory application, looking for injunction, all to procrastinate and waste the time of the court. And that is why it's causing this kind of delay. And sometimes you see that obviously somebody has committed the offense, but on technical grounds, you find out that there are certain things that the court will not be safe to convict that person. Right. And that is why you see those kind of things happening. You remember, sometimes you hear a judge saying, my hands are tied. The hands are tied because he knows that that person has committed the offense, but on technical ground, he does not have the capacity to jail that person. So like what you said is very good for Nigeria to make a reform, especially to reform the judiciary and bring modern things and change all those archaic things that are not bringing justice to people. Because what is happening now, there are so many condemnations of the judiciary based on what is happening. Obviously, sometimes you see somebody with overwhelming evidence. At the end of the day, the matter just dies down and or is forgotten. So I agree with you that there is need for government to make reforms in the judiciary, not only in the legislation that they are doing.
Let me put you in the spot for a second here. There are people who say we won't be dealing with this magnitude of illicit substance problem in Nigeria if there was no, if you like, insider factor from the NDLEA. In fact, they say that there are fifth columnists, there are sympathizers, there are those who are beneficiaries of this drug business, even within your agency.
Well, with the coming of Marwa, if I tell you that in an organization there are no bad eggs, then I'm telling lies. Almost every organization there is hardly, but when you look at NDLEA and compare it to other law enforcement agencies, you know that definitely it's disciplined, highly disciplined organization. And with the coming of Marwa, who set in motion what is called disciplinary committee, any erring officer that is reported, we already have it in the condition of service clearly stated. If you commit this offense, you'll be sacked. If you commit this offense, you'll be deranked. All have been put in place by General Marwa, and so many officers that are involved in this connivance have lost their job, and which sends a signal and pointer to those who are still in service not to commit same offense. And that is why you are seeing that the agency is a disciplined organization compared to other law enforcement agencies.
Let me just ask one more question before we wrap it up on the program because of our time. Now, with all of this put in place, would you say that the NDLEA, they have the right facilities, the right equipment in trying to curb and nip this particular menace in the bud in our society?
Well, they have, but definitely it's not sufficient. Every day, the criminals are going a step ahead of law enforcement, and law enforcement are also trying to go ahead of them. It's like a competition between them.
Yes, it is.
So if you are, sometimes those drug barons, they know the kind of facilities we use, the archaic ones, they can circumvent it using different tactics.
True.
But almost on every budget we have, we always bring new invention and new facilities that are being used and utilized all over the world. And some of these are international collaborators, knowing fully well that these drugs enter their countries, European countries and those in the Americans. They assist a lot by giving us those new facilities.
Right.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I would like to say a big thank you to you at this point, Dr. Ibrahim Abdul, Deputy Commander General and Director Asset and Financial Investigation at the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. He is also a board member of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and a legal expert on ECOWAS matters. We appreciate your insights on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, sir. I think that's how we're going to call it a wrap today, everyone. Thank you for watching. Remember that the views of our guests, as always, their opinions. I'm Uji Yagmofwekwe.
And I am Jumai Manson. Thank you so much to our guests once again for being a part of Global Morning on Global Television, for sharing your wheels of knowledge with us on the NDLEA and drugs and substance abuse.
Thank you very much.
I am Jumai Manson. Have an amazing day ahead. We and I, we say bye-bye.